There's been a thread going around recently that I wanted to respond to, so without any further ado, here are my golden rules for buying vinyl records. Stay tuned.
All that glitters ain't gold.
Hello again, Vinyl Community, Matt here. So as I mentioned, this is a response video. I've seen a few of these videos floating around now for the last week or two, and I want to talk about my personal golden rules when buying vinyl records. Now, rule number one, there are no rules. Okay, well, that's not entirely true, but no, by that I mean there are always exceptions you can make. You may think to yourself that a record's too expensive, or the condition isn't what you would like it to be, but let me give you an example. So, the Chirping Crickets. This would not be ordinarily in a condition that I would buy now, except that it's a fairly rare record. It's probably worth $200 or $300. Now, if this was in mint condition, it could easily be worth $1,000, but it's probably in about VG condition, which, like I said, wouldn't ordinarily, everything else being equal, I would not be interested in it. But because of what it is, I bought it, absolutely, to add it to the collection. Now, rule number two, speaking of condition, there are now records that I used to buy and I would not buy. So when I would not buy now. When I first started getting back into collecting vinyl, I was not as discerning as I am now. I definitely placed an emphasis on quantity over quality, and that meant that I bought some suspect items. I did. Let me give you a couple of examples here. First up is, it's back here actually, here. Milli Vanilli. This is All or Nothing, the US remix album. Now, this skips all over the place. The sleeve is in horrible condition. We've got seam splits all over the place here. It's just really rough. I bought it because it was only $2 at Savers, and you know, normally you'd pay well at least $10 for this, probably if not 15 or 20. But it wasn't worth it. I wasted $2. I didn't know it was going to skip as badly as it did when I got it, but the sleeve should have been a red flag in of itself. So I've recently pulled that out of the collection. And similarly, for Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield, I bought it because honestly it was 50 cents at a pawn shop. It was cheap, but I mean, it's always had this really suspicious lump on it that I didn't even want to touch. It looks like bird crap, I don't know, which is kind of appropriate with the clouds, but not really what you want on a record sleeve. It's got these very suspicious stains on it, like water stains all over the back as well, and it feels rough and kind of, I don't know, it doesn't feel good. So I would not, again, I would not have bought this if I were buying records now. As luck would have it, I got an upgrade copy of this recently, so I was able to pull this one out of the collection. But that's another example of condition being everything, really, you know. So let's go on to rule number three and talk about price. The most I've ever paid for a used record, it's about $40, but that was store credit. I don't know if you guys count that or not, but let's put, you know, let's not count that. So if I put that aside, probably Pink Floyd's Delicate Sound of Thunder, which I think cost me around $30. The most I paid for a new record was also a Pink Floyd record, and that was the Division Bell. So actually I have that here. Let me pull that out. Here we go. The Division Bell was about $35 from Barnes & Noble. I overpaid for it, but I really wanted it. I couldn't wait for Amazon. I was so eager. It was my birthday last year, and I had a little bit of cash to spend. I was like, no, I really want the Division Bell. It's my favorite Pink Floyd album, which is kind of blasphemous in some circles, but it is. And as luck would have it, next to it, sitting next to it, on my in my cube here is Delicate Sound of Thunder, the most that I paid for a used album. At least I think it is. And like I say, this is $25 or $30. It's a Soviet pressing from 1988. So if it's an album I really want, then I'm prepared to pay for it. Now, it's unusual for me to pay as much as that for an album. I usually don't pay more than 10. But again, there's been exceptions. Remember, there are no rules. Not really. Not for me. Yeah, there have been exceptions, and certainly I bought lots that cost more than that. I bought, a couple of years ago, I bought several Beatles albums that was over $30, which actually was a really great deal. And, you know, and I've spent like $50 or $60 on some lots from eBay of like 80s records, that type of thing. But those are exceptions, not the rule. Speaking of rules. So, yeah, really for me, $10 is kind of the sweet spot. Obviously, if I can get it for $5 or even $2 or $3, even better. If it's an album I really want, then I'm prepared to go higher than the $10 if absolutely necessary. All right, next rule. I don't, even though I got impatient with the Division Bell, but I don't mind waiting for an album. You know, there's been a number of cases where I've kind of, you know, I will bide my time, especially if I'm buying online, and I'll just wait until I find one that's at the right price. So let me give you an example here. I showed this in a recent video, but that's okay, we'll show it again. Aha, Stay on These Roads. I had wanted this for months. I had my eye out for it, but it goes for close to $20 usually on eBay, in decent condition anyway. I just wasn't prepared to pay that. I don't know, even though I wanted the album, but that's, I mean, I know, it's not like it's a Beatles album, it's Aha, come on. I mean, I love Aha, don't get me wrong, but it's not like it's a super rare LP. Finally, I picked it up for about $10 on eBay, which was much more reasonable, a price that I was definitely more comfortable with. So again, you know, I'm prepared to wait if necessary, but you know, usually impatience gets the best of me, but not always. What else? Oh, let's talk about 45s. I usually will not buy 45s if I already have the song on an album. So I'm going to show you two, ZZ Top Sleeping Bag and Rod Stewart Young Turks. Both of these I have the album that include these tracks, and so I pulled these out of the collection recently because I just thought, what's the point of keeping them? I think both of them, you know what, this one came from a pawn shop, it was like 25 cents. This one was part of an eBay lot, so okay, it's not like I paid a great deal of money for them, but I ordinarily now, and this was a couple of years ago, ordinarily now I would not touch these, because I would just think, what's the point? Even if they were 10 cents each, I probably wouldn't. I don't have enough space for the 45s that I already have, so I have to be pretty selective about them, and to me there's no point in buying a single that I already have on an album. So I think that's about it. Oh no, one more thing. Let's talk about blind buys. I don't do blind buys very often. I could probably count on one hand the number of times that I've done it. Certainly on two hands. And I showed this this record about a year ago. But Jonathan Jackson and E Nation Radio Cinematic. This is where kind of all of the rules, all the golden rules, collided into one glorious whole. Because I liked the cover art. It was, I think it was sealed when I bought it, so obviously the condition was right. It was $1, so the price was right, and I just thought, what the heck? I've got nothing to lose by taking a chance on it. And you know what? It's a terrific album. It's really good. So blind buys, I will absolutely indulge in, but it's only every once in a while. Some people do a lot of blind buys, but I like what I like. You guys know I like my 80s stuff, and I like a lot of other stuff too. I mean, we talked about Pink Floyd and Buddy Holly and whatnot, but I'm sort of a creature of habit in some ways, that you know, I like what I like. So the blind buy is a little bit, but not too much. So I think that's it. I think that's all I got. Those are my golden rules that really aren't so golden after all. They're pretty loose, I think. Oh no, one other thing. There is one more thing, and this is specifically when buying in thrift stores. It could apply to record stores. It could definitely apply to estate sales, actually. But thrift stores, so when I go into a thrift store, you scope out the vinyl. If it's a thrift store you're not familiar with, you scope it out first, right? I'll always go over and I'll look through the records, and I will pick out the records that I am potentially interested in. But that's all I'm going to do is pick them out. I'm not going to examine them in detail. I'm not going to even take the records out at this point. I'm just taking the whole thing out and holding on to it, taking it out, holding on to it, and so on. And the reason for that is I don't want, it might sound paranoid or insane, but I'm going to guess I'm not the only one who does this. I don't want somebody else coming in, and we've all been there, right? You know, somebody else comes sprinting in, and you've got them pegged. You think, okay, that's a record collector, or that's a flipper, or you just know. And somebody else comes charging in, and they're, you know, practically elbowing you out the way to get to the records before you do. So to avoid all of that, I'll try to avoid it. I'll just take the records out as quickly as I can, the ones that I might be interested in. I will then move away from the records, maybe even to a different part of the store, so I can look at them, the ones that potentially I might buy. And then I can take the vinyl out and look at it more closely. And it's just a time saver from the standpoint of me being able to look through the boxes or the crates of records more quickly versus if I was stopping to take the records out. And, you know, it's just a little time saver. I always do that. I'm always paranoid about somebody else coming in, which it sounds silly, but like I said, I bet I'm not the only one who does it. So, okay, that's it. That's definitely all the rules. I don't know. I lost count in the end. What was that, 6 or 7 maybe? Would be interested in you guys' comments and any rules that you have that maybe are similar to mine or maybe not so similar. Please comment below. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Till next time, thanks as always for watching. Bye-bye.